The sky was not supposed to bleed. That was the first thought Rami Elson had when he looked up. The clouds were red, glowing like fire. Alien ships floated above like giant monsters. The peaceful village below, small homes, quiet gardens, happy children, was now shaking with fear. No one expected war to come here. No one, except Rami. He was a priest, not a soldier, not a fighter. He prayed, healed the sick, and told stories to children. Everyone in the colony loved him. They thought he was kind, gentle, maybe even boring. They didn't know who he really was. He had buried his past long ago. But now, the past was waking up. A siren screamed. People ran in every direction. Fathers shouted for their children. Mothers cried. The Drozek warships dropped fire from the sky. Whole buildings turned to ash. 6 alien drop pods crashed into the ground with loud bangs. One landed just outside Rami's old chapel. Inside, children were hiding under wooden benches. The priest stood by the door, his hand on the handle. His eyes were closed. He was whispering something under his breath. "Are you scared, Father?" a small girl asked. Rami slowly opened his eyes. "No, I'm remembering." At that same moment, in orbit above the planet, General Karzul of the Drozek Empire stood in front of a hologram. His troops were laughing. One said, "This human colony is nothing. No weapons, no defense. It will fall in minutes." But a tech officer looked worried. "General, I found something strange." Karzul grunted. "Speak." One of the humans. "His name is Rami Elson." Silence. Then the general whispered, "It can't be." The tech officer looked confused. "You know him?" Karzul turned slowly. "Prepare one squad. Tell them to enter the chapel. Do not send more." "But why only one?" Karzul's voice dropped to a growl. "If that name is true, more won't matter." Back on the ground, 6 Drozek soldiers stormed the chapel. They kicked open the doors. But what they saw made them stop. The priest was standing alone in the center. Candles lit themselves on both sides of him. The air was heavy, like the air before a storm. One soldier laughed. "Just a holy man. This will be easy." Rami didn't move. He kept whispering. Then he raised one hand. The floor under them cracked. The doors slammed shut. The candles burst into flames. And the whispers turned into a roar. Outside, the children ran through the secret tunnel beneath the church. One boy looked back through a crack in the stones. A beam of light shot out of the chapel roof, straight into the sky. The ground shook. Trees bent. Birds flew in every direction. He gasped. What did Father Rami do? Later, when the squad didn't return, Karzul watched the burning chapel through a drone. There was no one left inside, only ashes. The general clenched his fists. "I told them," he said. "I told them the stories were not myths." Another officer asked, "What stories?" Karzul didn't answer for a long time. Then he said, "They called him the Saint of Fire. Long ago he ended a war with just a prayer. He disappeared. We thought he died." He looked at the screen again. But he didn't die. Deep beneath the chapel, Rami walked through a dark tunnel. Walls covered in dust. Symbols glowing faintly. He reached a metal door hidden for years. He opened it. Inside was a vault, cold, ancient. In the middle of the room was a black box with the human military seal. Rami opened it. A blade made of steel and crystal lay inside. It hummed softly when he touched it. He stared at it for a long time. Then he spoke in a voice filled with quiet rage. "You burned my home. You took the children's laughter. You brought back the part of me I buried." He lifted the blade. "Now I bring you the part of me you fear." It was supposed to be a simple mission. That's what the Drozek captain told his team before they landed. Find the human. Kill him. Burn what's left. They wore black armor, heavy boots, laser rifles ready. They were elite, trained, fearless. But only one thing was wrong. They had no idea who they were hunting. Far below the burned chapel, Rami stood in silence. He stared at his old blade. Its edge glowed soft blue, pulsed like a heartbeat. It had not seen light in 20 years. Now it was alive again. Rami ran his fingers over the marks on its hilt, symbols of an old war. A war he had once tried to forget. But forgetting didn't work. Not when innocent lives were lost again. Not when children screamed in fear. Above the clouds, the Drozek warship, Claw of Ash, hovered silently. From its control deck, Commander Vex watched the planet. "Report," he ordered. "Still no signal from the scout team, sir," said the tech officer. "The chapel site is glowing." Vex narrowed his eyes. Glowing. Like something alive. Another voice cut in, dry, rough, serious. It was General Karzal. From his command chair, he said one word. "Withdraw." Vex laughed. "Withdraw?" From one man. Karzal's eyes burned like fire. "He is not just a man. He is a warning." But Vex didn't listen. He wanted glory. He wanted to kill the priest himself. So he flew down with his ship and landed in the nearby field. Big mistake. That night, the stars vanished behind storm clouds. The wind howled. The air felt heavy, thick like a coming storm. Then, a soft bell rang. A single note. From the forest edge, a figure walked out. A long robe moved with the wind. One hand carried the glowing blade. The other hand was empty. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He walked straight toward the warship. Vex stepped out of the ship, laughing. "So you're the famous priest," he shouted. "I expected more." Rami stopped. He looked up, and he said nothing. Not a word. Just a look. And that silence was louder than any scream. "Kill him," Vex ordered. His guards aimed, fired. But before the beams could hit, the blade moved. Once. Just once. Cut through light itself. The energy beams vanished. Melted mid-air. The soldiers froze. "Impossible," one whispered. And then Rami attacked. He moved like lightning. The blade hummed with power. It sliced through armor like paper. He didn't shout. He didn't roar. He moved with silence and precision, like someone who had done this many times before. The guards fell, one by one, eyes wide. No time to scream. Vex tried to run back into the ship. But the door slammed shut on its own. Rami raised his hand, and the ship groaned like it was alive. Wires snapped. Lights flickered. The engines screamed. A soft hum filled the air, like the sound of an old prayer being spoken by the wind. Then, boom! The warship exploded in the sky. Fire rained from above. But Rami was already gone. High above, in an orbiting station, a young alien girl watched the fireball through a telescope. Her name was Zyra, a Drozek cadet in training. She had heard rumors of this human. Now she had seen the truth. She recorded the footage, saved it. Then she whispered to herself. They said humans were weak. But he's something else. Far from the flames, deep in the woods, Rami stood near a quiet stream. He washed blood from his hands. The blade floated beside him, glowing faintly. He looked at the stars. And he whispered, "You should have left us alone." Back on the Drozek homeworld, panic spread. Commanders held secret meetings. Old files were opened. The name Rami Elson appeared again and again. Each file marked, "Do not engage." Too late. Now, they had made a mistake. A very big one. And in the cold silence of space, one question began to spread like a virus across all alien channels. What happens when a human loses everything and fights with nothing left to lose? Whispers travel faster than ships. Across cold galaxies, in steel war rooms and shadowy meeting halls, a single human name was being spoken. Rami, first as a joke, then as a warning, and soon as a curse. 2 solar weeks had passed since the destruction of the warship Claw of Ash. No human army had attacked. No space fleet had come. Just one man, one priest. The Drozek Empire did not understand how. But they felt fear for the first time in decades. In Sector 9, a Drozek patrol ship landed on a farming moon. The crew expected to find easy prey. Instead, they found the symbol. It was burned into the dirt, 3 lines crossed by a single flame. The mark of Rami. The Drozek captain froze. No bodies, he said. No blood. No noise. But they're all gone. His second-in-command looked at him. Who's Rami? The captain didn't answer. He just gave the order. Leave. Now. In the Empire's capital, panic grew quietly. Files long locked away were now being opened. One file showed blurry old footage. A human in white robes, kneeling on a battlefield, surrounded by fire. Then the image glitched and all Drozek units vanished from the screen. No blast. No sound. Just gone. File marked. Level black. Do not engage. Elsewhere, in a hidden place, Rami was not resting. He was moving. He walked with calm steps through ruins of old human bases. He visited forgotten colonies. He found survivors, orphans, leftovers from lost wars. And everywhere he went, he gave them hope, food, warmth, and something more dangerous, the belief that humans would rise again. Alien leaders watched nervously. He's only one man, said a council member. But he's making the people believe, said another. One whispered, belief is harder to kill than bodies. Meanwhile, Zyra, the alien cadet who had seen him from orbit, was searching. She stole time in restricted archives. She watched every old battle video with the name Rami in it. In one, he walked through smoke while alien machines exploded behind him without touching them. In another, he stood between 2 armies, spoke one word, and both sides dropped their weapons. She stared at the screen, whispering, why would a priest know how to destroy warships? Zyra began to ask questions. Too many. That made her dangerous. The Empire sent a warning. Stop looking into him, her commander said. But she didn't stop. Instead, she made a decision. She stole a stealth ship and left the Empire. She wanted answers. Real ones. She wanted to find the human priest. Far away, on a dark mining planet, another Drozek captain was shouting at his crew. I don't care what the stories say. Find him. He's just one human. But before they could even leave, the lights in the base went out. The air turned cold. A voice echoed through the halls. Soft, calm, but full of fire. You could have walked away. Then silence. The entire base went dark forever. Only the flame mark remained on the floor. At first, many believed the priest was just a myth. But myths don't leave trails of real destruction. Myths don't burn outposts. Myths don't talk to the wind and make weapons fall apart. And most of all, myths don't send messages. One morning, a Drozek fleet opened a secure channel. No one else knew the signal. Only one word came through. Remember. And then every ship in that fleet shut down for 10 minutes. No weapons. No movement. No control. Just silence. Then, the systems turned back on. But the crew? They were all unconscious. And in the command room of every ship, one phrase was written in glowing red. You started this. Now, across the stars, aliens were whispering at night. Do not attack the humans. Do not enter their space. Do not say the priest's name too loud. But others started hoping. Refugees, oppressed races, even some aliens from the Drozek's own enemies. They started to ask, if one human can shake an empire, what happens if others rise too? And somewhere in the shadows, Rami smiled, not because of fear, not because of revenge, but because the galaxy was finally listening. We tried fear. We tried fire. Now, send the beast. Those were the last words spoken in the Drozek War Council before they called Kaloran, their living weapon. He wasn't born. He was built. 7 feet tall. Body covered in black armor fused to his skin. His eyes glowed yellow like twin suns. He didn't speak often. He didn't ask questions. He only obeyed. And he had never lost a fight. Send me, he growled. I'll bring you the priest's head. The room fell silent. Even generals who ruled planets looked away. They didn't fear death, but they feared him. Far across the stars, in the ruins of an ancient temple, Rami knelt alone. The sun was rising behind broken stone pillars. A cool wind moved through the air like a whisper. He held his blade in one hand. The other hand rested on a book, old, torn, sacred. He was not hiding. He was waiting. Kaloran's ship landed hard, cracking the earth beneath it. He stepped out, alone. He didn't bring soldiers. He didn't need them. He walked into the temple, step by step, heavy, loud, confident. Rami stood and faced him. Two shadows met between the stones, one glowing, one dark. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Kaloran growled, "You destroyed our ships." "I did," Rami said softly. "You ruined fear." "Fear was never real," Rami replied. "It's only a tool used by the weak." Kaloran's fists tightened. "I am not weak." And then he charged. Like thunder crashing through stone, he moved with speed no one expected. His blade, a jagged weapon made from star metal, sliced through air. But it hit nothing. Rami was already behind him. Kaloran spun around, roaring, slashing wildly. But Rami didn't strike back. He dodged. He moved like wind. His eyes didn't show rage. They showed sadness. "What's wrong, priest?" Kaloran shouted. "Afraid to fight?" "No," Rami answered. "Just listening." "Listening to what?" "To your pain." Those words hit harder than any blade. Kaloran paused. Just for a moment. But in battle, one moment is enough. Rami moved, fast and sharp. His blade touched Kaloran's chest. But it didn't cut. Instead, it hummed softly, like it was speaking to him. Kaloran stepped back. "Why didn't you finish me?" "Because I don't need to. You came here to kill me." "No," Rami said. "You came here to kill yourself." Silence. The temple's wind grew louder. Rami lowered his weapon. "Tell me," he said, "how many villages did they make you burn?" Kaloran's jaw tightened. "How many voices scream in your head when you sleep?" Kaloran's fist shook. "Your rage is not power," Rami whispered. "It's a prison." And suddenly, Kaloran dropped his weapon. It hit the stone floor with a loud clang. He fell to his knees. He screamed. Not in anger, but in something worse. Remorse. Rami walked forward. He placed his hand on the warrior's shoulder. And for the first time in his life, Kaloran cried. Far away in the Drozek command center, alarms began to sound. "Sir," a voice said. "We lost connection with Kaloran." The general's face went pale. "Impossible," he said. "He never fails." Another voice whispered, "He didn't fail. He switched sides." Now, across the galaxy, the message spread again. The Empire's strongest weapon kneeled before a human priest. He cried. He changed. And deep in the heart of the ruins, Kaloran now stood beside Rami. No longer an enemy, now a protector, a believer. Because sometimes, the greatest battle is not against others. It's the one you fight inside your own heart. And no one knows that better than a human who lost everything and chose mercy instead of revenge. Zyra used to think humans were fragile. That was what the Academy taught her. Humans cried too much, loved too much, broke too easily. But that was before she saw the man in robes burn down a warship without touching it. Before she heard that the Empire's strongest warrior bowed to him in silence. Now she was on a stolen stealth ship, flying toward a quiet green planet, a forbidden place, because she needed answers. Her mission wasn't official. No command, no backup, no orders. If caught, she would be called a traitor. But the question burned inside her too long. Who is Rami Elson? She landed at night. Thick trees surrounded the valley. No guards, no gates, only a quiet camp glowing with soft lanterns. She expected to see soldiers. She saw farmers. She expected labs or weapons. She saw children playing. She expected fear. She saw hope. Zyra walked slowly, hood up, weapon hidden. Her heart raced. A human woman waved at her. A Drozek child, her own species, laughed nearby. Aliens and humans. Living together? That shouldn't be possible. But it was happening. Right in front of her. She was about to turn back when a voice stopped her. calm, deep, familiar. You came a long way, Zyra. Her body froze. She turned slowly. He was there. Rami. Robes clean, face calm, eyes like starlight. I saw you orbiting 3 weeks ago, he said. You didn't hide your trail well. Zyra reached for her blaster, but his eyes made her stop. There was no threat in them, only understanding. They sat near a fire. No guards watched her. No one locked her up. Instead, someone gave her food. Rami sat across from her. He didn't speak first. He waited. Finally, she asked, "Why didn't you kill me?" "You're not here to kill," Rami said. She stared into the fire. "You're rebuilding villages," she said. "Even Drozek ones." "Why?" "Because war forgets people," he replied. "But people should not forget each other." Zyra's hand trembled. She pulled out a small data chip. "I found records," she said. "Your past." Rami looked down. Quiet. Saint of fire. Peacekeeper of Titan. And then, vanished. She leaned in. "Why did you disappear?" Rami looked into her eyes. His voice was soft but heavy. "Because I chose peace. And peace makes you an enemy to both sides." A small Drozek child ran up and hugged Zyra's leg. She looked down, stunned. The child giggled. "You're one of us now?" Zyra blinked. She didn't answer, because suddenly, she didn't know. Later that night, Zyra wandered the camp. She saw former warriors planting food. She saw children from different species learning together. She saw Kaloran sharpening tools beside humans, laughing softly. These were once enemies. Now, they were family. She found Rami again. He stood alone, looking at the stars. "They're planning something," Zyra said. "Your name, it's scaring them." "They should be scared," he said. "But not of me. Of the truth." "What truth?" Rami turned to her. "That humans are not weak. That kindness is not soft. That peace is not surrender." He took a step forward. "And that when you corner someone who wants peace, they can become something worse than war." Zyra looked at him. Really looked. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a god. He was a man. But behind his eyes, there was fire. Old fire. Controlled but waiting. She took a breath. Then slowly, she dropped her blaster into the dirt. "I don't know what I believe anymore." Rami nodded. "That means you're beginning to understand." Back in the Empire's command center, alarms sounded again. A spy had gone dark. A scout ship was missing. Someone whispered, "Zyra." "She went looking for the priest," an officer said. "Then she's gone," the general replied. "The priest doesn't kill. He converts." And he was right, because that night Zyra didn't just switch sides. She found something far more dangerous. A cause worth fighting for. A shadow passed over 5 systems last month. That's what the Drozek High Council whispered behind locked doors. No one knew what it was. 5 fleets. 5 admirals. Gone. No explosions. No distress calls. No survivors. Only silence. And one mark left behind, burned into steel. A single flame. In dark rooms across the galaxy, leaders stared at red maps on black screens. Red meant silence. Red meant death. But this wasn't a war. No one had declared it. No soldiers marched. No ships flew under flags. Only rumors. Only the priest. First they laughed. "He's one man." But now they watched a shaky video. A Drozek fleet, 80 ships strong, floating near a dead star. Then a soft hum. Lights failed. One by one, ships vanished, like stars being eaten by the dark. The last video frame showed a shape walking across open space. A human shape, eyes glowing like suns. Back on the green planet, Rami sat with children under an old tree. They asked stories. He told them tales of peace, of long summers, of stars that sang. But his mind was far away. He knew what was coming. The Empire was preparing a purge. A final attack. He could feel it. The silence of space had grown too quiet. Zyra stood beside him, watching the skies. "They think you're a ghost," she said. "Some don't even believe you exist." "They will," Rami replied. They always believe, just before they break. Across the empire, something strange began. Commanders refused orders. Stations locked their own gates. Alien citizens started lighting candles at night. 3 small flames. The mark of Rami. Not in fear, in hope. It was no longer just one man. It was a movement, a whisper that became a wind. And winds can break empires. Back in a secret chamber, General Karzul slammed his fist on the table. I want the priest erased, he shouted. A young officer whispered. We tried. Karzul turned, eyes burning. The officer placed a data chip on the table. Watch this. The screen flickered. A Drozek attack on a human rescue ship. Easy target. But before the first laser fired, all Drozek weapons shut down. Then, the human ship opened its doors. Not with weapons, but with music. A voice sang through the speakers. Low, calm, human. You wanted war. But war is not loud. Sometimes, it's soft. Sometimes it walks with a candle and burns everything in silence. Karzul's face turned pale. He leaned forward. Where was this recorded? The officer hesitated. Inside our own borders. Meanwhile, far from any star map, Rami walked through an abandoned space station. He moved alone, but his message echoed through every wall. He wasn't taking planets. He wasn't building armies. He was collapsing belief. Belief that the Drozek couldn't lose. Belief that humans were weak. Belief that power meant destruction. And now, empires were breaking from the inside. Even Kaloran, once a weapon of the Drozek, now stood among refugees, teaching them how to defend, not destroy. He once broke cities. Now he built gardens. A child asked him once, why do you follow the priest? Kaloran answered softly, because he fought me with mercy, and it hurt more than any blade. In secret, enemy species who once feared humans began reaching out. One by one, Rami answered every message. But his reply was always the same. I don't want your ships. I want your voices. Say the truth. Let the people see. And then, it happened. The Drozek Emperor ordered the largest fleet launch in Empire history. A full purge. 100,000 ships. To burn the flame forever. But something strange happened. They arrived at the coordinates and found nothing. No cities. No people. No enemy. Only a quiet forest planet. And one figure standing alone in a field. Rami. He raised his hand. Not in attack, but in peace. And one by one, Drozek ships powered down. Not from damage, but from command override. By their own engineers. By their own people. They refused to fire. The Empire had lost not by weapons, but by faith. And far away, millions watched. And they whispered, he didn't destroy the Empire. He unplugged it. Was he real? The child asked the question with wide eyes. Her teacher looked down and smiled. Outside the window, the stars shone gently over the green hills. Some say he was. Others say he was a ghost. The war had ended years ago. Not with a final battle. Not with a peace treaty. But with silence. The Drozek Empire collapsed from within. Their ships rusted in hangars. Their generals became farmers. And the name Rami Elson was now written in books. But no one knew where he had gone. Some believed he had died. Some believed he had ascended. Others said he still walked among the stars, quiet, watching, waiting. But no one ever found a body. No grave, just stories. Stories passed from world to world. From campfires to classrooms. In one version, he walked into the heart of a black hole, and the hole spat him out. In another, he turned into stardust and lives in every human who chooses peace over war. And in the oldest version, whispered by elders, he became the fire between the stars. But Zaira knew better. She had seen him smile. She had watched him cry. She had heard him whisper prayers before battle. Not for victory, but for mercy. Now she sat in a quiet garden. Children of all species played nearby. Kaloran taught them how to plant seeds. And Zaira told them stories. Not to make them afraid, but to help them remember. One boy ran up holding a metal pendant. It was shaped like a flame. "Teacher," he said, "is this his?" Zaira took the pendant. She closed her hand around it and whispered, "It was never just his. It was ours." Somewhere, far beyond the maps, deep in a forest untouched by war, a man sat by a small fire. His robe was old, his beard gray, but his eyes still burned like twin stars. He didn't speak much. He prayed. He listened. He watched. A young girl brought him food. She didn't know who he was. He smiled, thanked her. She sat beside him. "Tell me a story?" she asked. The man looked at the sky, then at her, and said, "Once, a man loved peace so much, he became dangerous." Far above them, satellites still searched, but his name no longer appeared. It was erased, or maybe hidden, like a seed in the soil, waiting. And across the galaxy, in places full of pain and silence, people lit candles. 3 small flames, no banners, no armies, just light. And they whispered, "Do not fear humans, but never forget. What happens when you push one too far?"